Etruscan deity, Suri, whose name is thought to mean black or the black, was an ancient chthonic god who was venerated in Etruria and central Italy. Some locations would even bear his name, such as Surina, Viterbo and Mount Sorate. Originally an Etruscan deity, Suri would later be adopted into ancient Roman religion, where the god's name would be Latinized as Soranus. According to the Etruscan National Museum, who refer to Suri as a member of the Isa, the Etruscan word for the gods, and call him the Black Lord, quote, Suri was an underworld deity who the Greeks and Romans likened to a chthonic Apollo, end quote. In cult inscriptions, the deity is also given other names such as Wrath and Manth, and by the 4th century BC, inscriptions using Etruscan phonics appear dedicated to Aplu or Apollo. Like Apollo, the cult practices pertaining to the worship of the deity, which were carried out at the coastal sanctuary of Purgi, modern-day Santa Severa, indicate he was a god associated with oracular prophecy. In the sanctuary, Suri was venerated alongside his consort Kavatha Persephone, which seemingly confirms his assimilation with the Greek god of the underworld, Hades. Suri was associated with fire and volcanoes, as well as the sun and light. And his sacred animals were said to be wolves and goats. This can be seen in the cult practices, which we will look at in more detail shortly. Offerings of lead, arrowheads and javelins have been found made to Suri, and the deity was consulted on future events via a divining method called the Sors, which is Latinized as sortes. The National Etruscan Museum of Villa Giulia, Rome, holds one such piece and describes the Sors as, quote, a device used to question divine will. Usually a series of identical tokens etched with some favourable and some unfavourable inscriptions. They were inserted into a container and taken out either one at a time or all dropped out at once where their disposition was interpreted, end quote. The Aeneid, written by the Roman poet Virgil between 29 and 19 BC, tells us the origin story of the city of Mantua, which is situated in the present-day region of Lombardy, northern Italy. According to Virgil, the city was founded by Ocnus, the son of a prophetic nymph named Manto. Ocnus is described as first giving the city its ramparts as well as his mother's name. Quote, he too calls the train from his native coasts, Ocnus, son of prophetic Manto, and the river of Tuscany, who gave thee, O Mantua, ramparts and his mother's name. Mantua, rich in ancestry, yet not all of one blood, a threefold race, and under each race 4 cantons. Herself, she is the canton's head, and her strength is of Tuscan blood. End quote. Servius, however, the Latin grammarian of the 4th century AD, while commenting on Virgil's Aeneid, tells us that the city name of Mantua, and therefore also the name of Manto, was ultimately derived from Mantu, which was an epithet of Suri, who he describes as the Etruscan Pluto. Mantu would later be Latinized as Mantus. In Pliny's Natural History, we are told Mantua was the birthplace of Virgil, and Pliny describes how Virgil alludes to the city's Etruscan origin. In this text, Pliny also tells us how Manto was a daughter of Tiresias, who is also described elsewhere as a prophet of Apollo. Quote, Mantua was not a place of importance, but was famous for being the birthplace of Virgil. At least the poet who was born at the village of Andes in its vicinity regarded it as such. It is said to have had its name from Manto, the daughter of Tiresias. Virgil in the Aeneid alludes to its supposed Tuscan origin. End quote. The name Manto seems to bear some similarity to the Greek word mantis, which means a diviner, seer or prophet, and is used to describe prophets such as Calchas, a priest of Apollo, who is mentioned in the Iliad. The LSJ Greek lexicon shows that the word mantis is connected to the word Sibula or Cybele, and is used of Apollo and Cassandra, as well as Dionysus and the Pythian priestess.